Hi, I'm Mindy Kiefer. I'm 36 years old. I have a beautiful 3-year-old little daughter and a wonderful fiance and an amazing family. I have lived a double life for the last 20 years, in which today I am in college and living a successful life, but on September 3rd, I'll have 2 years sobriety from being a heroin addict. My life started out amazing. My dad was in the Army. I was a little Army brat. We got to travel everywhere from Alaska to Washington, Oregon, all across the western United States. My family, my parents are very, very, very supportive. I did really well in school. I got straight A's. I had a lot of issues medically, but other than that, I did really well. I had a back surgery done when I was 16 years old, and we had moved back to Ohio by then. And I started going to school and just getting into other things, getting into new friends, new places, new things. Started teaching me how to, grow into my own person. As I got older, I just was really family oriented. I really played softball. My family was a big part of my life. My parents always stood by my side. And when I turned 18, I did my first weekend in jail. My first weekend in jail was literally my weekend birthday, and it was for possession of drugs. And it all started a downward spiral from there. Most of it in the beginning was just weed and alcohol. A lot of it never even seemed to be in the area that I was. I didn't think that Amelia even knew anything of heroin. I never even heard of it except for in DARE in school. I was introduced to it when I was given Oxycontins for my back. I have a rod in my back, and going through that brings you into a whole nother level of people. You get to meet some interesting things along the way, and I'm one of them. I started using heroin when I was 19 years old. At first I started snorting it, and I fell in love. Everything about it made me feel normal. I could run, no pain, work. I worked so much. It was just a joy of mine to be out playing with my nieces and my nephews and running around like I didn't have a care in the world. Pretty soon it became such an issue that I needed it every single day. It had become an addiction, and I didn't even realize it. I had no idea what addiction was. No idea. I didn't know anything about the detox of it, the anatomy of it, the mind games of it, or where it would take me. I was going to college. I had straight A's. I soon dropped out. Was in some pretty abusive relationships, some really crappy ones that gave me more fuel to my fire to think that why try? So I just kept using. I ended up going to jail for a long period of time when I was 20. Receiving stolen property. It was all a part of my drug habit. My drug habit took me places where I never ever thought that it would. I have a record, and with that, it tried to destroy me. It hasn't today, but through the last 20 years, I have done nothing but fight my addiction. Heroin was the only drug I knew after I started using it. It was the only drug I wanted. I would go to any lengths to get it. I drove from Amelia, Ohio to Dayton, Ohio to Cleveland, Ohio to get this drug. Nothing stopped me. I'd beg my parents. And that is one thing I can thank my parents for, is not enabling me in that way. My parents supported me, though, every step of the way. When I was in jail, they believed in me. They gave me strength that I see today, made me who I am. But back then it was awesome to know that somebody still loved me and supported me when I didn't love myself, because I remember sitting in those jail cells detoxing, just wishing for life to end, just wishing that if I could just go home, everything would be better. I'd never touch it again. And 6 months after being in jail, I got out, and 2 weeks later was high again. I meant every single promise that I ever said to myself and my family. Every single one of them. I meant it when I said that I was done. I meant it when I said that I was going to detox and I was going to get through it. It was only going to be 3 or 4 days. I was going to do this time. I meant every last promise that I made, but it turned into a 20-year battle, almost a 20-year battle with heroin. I was in and out of jail, in and out of prison, in and out of the systems. I was homeless, living on the streets, staying at the drop-in center in Cincinnati, living in the woods in a homeless camp, because the only thing that mattered was where my money was going, and my money was going to get me high. I'd work at pay-to-day places. Everything that I did revolved around this lifestyle that I had created, and nobody even knew it at first. Nobody knew how bad it was. Nobody seen the marks on my arms. Nobody seen the pain. September of 2012, I had one of my final surgeries, and I realized that things needed to change. I wanted a life. I wanted a kid. At that time, I was 32 years old. I wanted a family. I wanted things different. But by then, somewhere in my brain, it told me it was too late. I could not get my life together. I put myself into a psychiatric ward time and time again, trying to kill myself just because I wanted it all to end. And I was the one who started it every single time. The psychiatric wards kept me sober for a little bit. And then I met my fiance, and him being sober was a really great start in my life. And I really thought that I was going to do it this time. I had everything that I thought that I'd wanted. My family was still supporting me. My family still loved me. Everything was just falling into place. And I really thought that I could do it this time. I ended up pregnant with my daughter. And then I really thought things were about to change. I really thought, a kid, this is it. Life is going to change. Nothing will ever be the same. I'm going to give this all up for my child because this is all I've ever wanted. Well, I gave birth to my child. She was a little early. I had complications. And shortly thereafter, I just didn't think I was enough. I couldn't stay up long enough to take care of her. I wanted to be a super mom, and I couldn't be a super mom. And the only way that I knew that I could be a super mom was opiates. So I slowly started using opiates again. But when that happened, I was able to stay up and clean and take care of my daughter the way that I wanted to, the way that I thought that I should. And that was a big deal to me because family, like I said before, was everything to me. I wanted to be the mom that my mom was to me, running around, cleaning, cooking, taking us to softball, taking us to basketball, taking us to all the sports that we went to. And that's what I wanted to be for Ellie and my fiance. And I ended up pregnant again and having a miscarriage. And when that happened, I kind of lost my mind. Well, I lost my mind. I ended up going downtown. I got a tester, and I snorted it, and I overdosed and died with my 1-year-old daughter in the car. She was 15 months, and my choice was taken away from me. It was the first time ever during my addiction that I don't remember the choice to live. I don't remember the drive, and that for me is a very scary thing. Like, that is at least 30 minutes of my life that I do not remember, and I had my daughter in the back seat driving. When I finally overdosed, when I was in and out of consciousness, I was still driving. I finally overdosed and wrecked my car. My daughter was safe. Thank you, Jesus. She was safe. And I was dead. An officer administered Narcan, and he didn't think he had got me breathing again. They covered me with a tarp and proceeded to call my family and tell them that I was gone. And finally, the EMTs showed up and were able to get an IV and Narcan me 4 more times and got a heartbeat. There I was taken to the hospital and then I went to jail. This time, it was painful. There was no bargaining anymore. I felt like I just wanted to lay there and whatever happened, it happened because I deserved it. And that's how I felt at the time. The jail sent me to a rehabilitation place in Loveland, Ohio. And that place really changed my life. They taught me how to love myself, and that's something I didn't do. I didn't love myself at all, and I seen that looking back through my addiction, that I could care so much about everyone else, but nothing at all about myself. So therefore, I didn't care what happened to me. And I went to this rehabilitation center for about 4 months. When I was going back and forth to sentencing, I was sentenced to 3 years in jail. So I did 14 months altogether. And with the 14 months, I did a lot of soul searching. My family stayed by my side. I still have my fiance. I get my daughter whenever I want to see her. And I thank God that she's alive for me to be able to do that. I thank God that she's not looking at a tombstone trying to figure out why I left her. I've been sober almost 2 years. The last thing I ever wanted to be was a heroin addict. It never even crossed my mind. When I look back on it, I just kind of chuckled to myself, thinking like, how, where, how did this ever happen to me? How and where did I go wrong? But today I try not to dwell on the resentments, because I still have them. I still have shame, but I don't live in it. I regret a lot, but I don't live in regret. It's stuff that I'm still working to get past. I'm really early in my sobriety still, I feel. But I just stay as involved as I can. Working with people and helping people and talking to people makes my heart swell, because when I was in jail this last time, I seen how many people don't have anybody at all. They don't have family, they don't have friends, and they don't have anybody to be there for them. And me, I was blessed throughout the years that I put my family through a living hell to have them still by my side. They supported me through every last bit of my trials, every last bit of every pain that I put them through. They supported me. And I really believe that made a difference in my life. I really believe that it made me stay alive. So that's a big deal to me today, is to just be involved as much as possible. I'm coming up on my anniversary on September 3rd, and it'll be 2 years. I'm super excited to see what the rest of it holds. I don't never ever want to turn around. I don't want to look back, and I darn sure don't ever want to live in the past.